Hey everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Felipe Salles, saxophonist, arranger, award-winning composer, leader of the Felipe Salles Interconnections Ensemble, and professor of jazz studies at UMass Amherst. Felipe is here to show us how to use tone rows to expand melodic and harmonic possibilities.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So a few years ago, I did a project on Brazilian lullabies, and being those melodies that are extremely tonal, I wanted to explore some other avenues in terms of harmonic possibilities. So I started experimenting with using tone rolls as part of that, so creating a frame where the tone rolls would be used sometimes as bass lines or things like that. So as an example, I'm going to show you one of the melodies that I used, which is an old Brazilian piece. We can put the melody there. It's clearly in B flat major, and let's listen to it so we can have an idea. So one of the things that actually made me think about the tone rolls is that some of the lyrics in those old lullabies are very dark and they're kind of scary. So I wanted to create something different. But before we do that, let's just listen to the melody with, the basic original harmony, which is what you see on the screen right now. So it's very tonal. If you grow up listening to something like this, it's very hard to get away from it. So my idea was to use a tone roll as the basis to, create sort of a structure or a puzzle, like I like to say, that I would be able to solve harmonically. So let's listen to the tone roll I created for that. It's the meeting of the most tonal melody and the most atonal bass line is what you see right now on the screen. So let's listen to how it works in terms of how it changes the character of the melody to have a bass line as chromatic and atonal as this. So as you can tell, it already changes a lot the character of the melody. It brings a different perspective. I call it darkness, but maybe you hear it differently. So based on that, I created a harmony, which was based on what I was hearing between those two relationships. And the interesting thing to me is because you have something so tonal and something so atonal, the harmony kind of bridges that gap and becomes somewhat non-functional modal kind of type of harmony. So let's listen to the harmony I came up with. You can also hear a couple of other things there. There's a little bit of augmentation going on, creating a little tension by extending the duration of some of the chords. And there's also a little metric modulation at the end of it, which we'll take to another section of the tune. One of the other things that I did was that I put that actual melody in the background and I created a counter melody, which becomes sort of like the prominent part of it. So if you know that melody, you kind of recognize it in the back. But if you don't, it might be just passing by very quickly. So let's listen to the result this is with my band playing. This is from our first record called Lullaby Project. And this is the realized version of that section where you can hear the harmonized melody in the back, and then you hear the guitar and the clarinet on the front playing the counter melody, which you perceive as being the real melody. So it has a very different character from the original melody. I also like to explore continuity in the pieces. So using the tone roll in other parts of the piece was important for me since I already had created a tone roll for the piece. So I'm going to show you a couple of more examples of where that is used. For example, in the introduction of the piece starts with a single soprano saxophone playing a line that sounds like a cadenza maybe. That cadenza, it's written, and it's the is basically the same tone roll, but in reverse, starting on the last note and going backwards. So basically the retrograde of the tone roll. Let's listen to it. That sets up the mood of the piece. One other place where I used the tone roll in a different way was on a different section, which is sort of like a Brazilian march, a carnival march. And the tone roll is now used as a bass line. So if you look at the upright bass part and the left hand of the piano, you will see that that same tone roll that was used behind the melody, now it's this groove-based bass line going on. So let's listen. I think just finishing up the idea, it's interesting to create something that gets you out of your comfort zone. In this case, using the tone roll in all those different situations and having to derive harmonies and other musical elements out of it was interesting for me because it made me think differently than I would normally do if I was just using my ears. And in this case, I'm using my ears to basically solve this little puzzle that I created by introducing the tone roll into the composition.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.